Okay, good morning, class. Let's go ahead and look at our target board and focus on what standard are we going to learn about today. So today we are going to learn about experience the influence of multiple narrators and or shifts in the point of view in a literary text. Who knows what the word shift means, first of all? Good, it means a change. So there might be a change in the point of view in a literary text. Now, what is literary? Good, it's not informational text, it's something in literature. It could be a play, it could be a story, it could be a number of things, but it's not informational text. Now, why is it important that we understand and can identify different narrators and different points of view? Because we may be reading a passage, we might be reading a story, we might be reading a book, and something may happen in the passage that requires the narrator or may affect the narrator in such a way that their point of view changes. So that's what we're going to look at. We're basically going to learn today about a first person and a third person point of view. So let's get into that. Everybody look up on the screen right now. And you all have a copy of it in front of you as well, but I want us to focus right now on the screen. Make sure that you have your highlighter and your pencil out. Good. All right, let's look at what this says. It's called narrative point of view. Every story has a narrator or a storyteller, and there are three main points of view that we're going to learn about today. As you can see on the chart, we have first person point of view, third person limited point of view, and third person omniscient point of view. Omniscient. I never say that one right. Omniscient. Let's look at them individually, and then we'll work together to understand them. First person point of view. Read it along with me. Narrator, one of the story characters, uses pronouns such as I, me, my, and will refer to himself when talking about the story. I want you to go ahead and highlight some key words that will help you identify when reading. How would you know if it's first person point of view? So go ahead and highlight, but you know what? Let's stop right there. Do I have a volunteer that thinks they know what words we would highlight or look for when we're reading a passage? Gabriella? Yes, I, me, my. Go ahead and highlight those words as you see on your paper. And also highlight first person point of view, because that will indicate first person point of view. If I look at it at a glance, I know it means look for words like I, me, and my. Excellent. All right, let's move to the next one. Third person limited. Now, limited means you may only have one chance, two chances. Well, same thing here. The narrator, who in this case is not a part of the story, is that something important that I should highlight or circle maybe? It is, because the narrator is now not part of the story in third person, whereas in first person, I was part of the story. Ooh, and maybe we should go back into first person point of view and underline something else. What should I underline now? Now that I've realized third person has a narrator is not part of the story, what do you think I should underline in first person? Yes, someone that is a story character. Good job. So narrator who is not a story character uses pronouns such as he or she or they when referring to the characters. It reveals. What does reveal mean? We've learned this before. Shows. Good. It shows only one character's feelings or thoughts. So go ahead now, and I think you know what to highlight. What should you highlight? Everybody raise your hand if you know what to highlight. Good. He she, and they. Go ahead and do that now. So let's take a moment. I'm going to think about something. And you tell me, is it first person or third person limited? Today I walked to school. And as I was walking to school, I saw this cute little dog. It had curly hair and it was so sweet. It made me so happy to see this little dog happy to see me. I noticed that the owner was walking her, and I thought I could ask the owner if she wouldn't mind letting me pet her dog. And she said, absolutely, pet the dog. I went over, I petted the dog, I talked to the dog, and it made me feel so happy. It got me in such a good mood for when I came to school today. I said goodbye, and I continued walking. Okay, based on my little story that I just made up, was I sharing that in first person point of view or third person limited point of view? Think about it for a moment and be ready to explain why you made that decision. All right, I'm going to randomly choose someone. Let's see, you're up for it. Desk number 7. Would you like to answer? Okay, good. Go for it. Yes, it was first person point of view. But I said she in there a few times. How come it's not third person point of view? Good, because I only talked about my feelings. Thumbs up if you understand that concept. Good. All right, let's move on. We're going to practice that in a minute. Now, the next one, and you probably have never heard of this before in 6th grade. It's third person omniscient, and I always have a hard time saying it. And omniscient means actually all-knowing. So let's read what it says about it. The narrator, who is, again, not part of the story, so underline or circle that, they're not a story character. They use pronouns such as he, she, and they when referring to the characters, but they know everybody's feelings, not just themselves, not just their friends, but they know everything that happens. So go ahead and highlight, and I would circle, I would put in big circle, all knowing. The narrator knows everything that happens. Now, the first thing that came to my mind when I read about this was The Wizard of Oz. Did any of you ever see The Wizard of Oz? I used to watch it every Thanksgiving when I was a little girl. And when I watched it, it was in black and white, and now it's in color. But anyway, if you don't know about the story, The Wizard of Oz, there's this wizard, and he hides behind this special castle. And as we go through the story with Dorothy, she comes across all these different characters. The Tin Man, and we know how the Tin Man feels. And the Lion, and we know how the Lion feels. And the Scarecrow, and we know how the Scarecrow feels. And in this portion of the story, we never see the wizard. We know nothing about the wizard. But as we're watching this movie, we know how everybody feels. So in that instance, the narrator is the third person omniscient. All right, so let's put our knowledge to the test. Now, I am going to leave up on the board all of the definitions of first person, third person limited, and third person omniscient, so that you can look up at the board as you're answering the questions in case you forget or need clarification on what each of them means. So let's look at our passage on our paper, and let's read the directions, because it's very important to read the directions. Why is it important to read the directions? Yes, Ariana, because the directions tell us what to do. Read each excerpt. All will have third-person narrators, so we will not see any first-person narrator in these examples. You're going to write an L if the excerpt has a third person limited, so L for limited, and write O if it's omniscient, which means all-knowing. Let's do the first one together. Do I have a volunteer to read it out loud? Okay, Liliana, read it for us. Addie loves doing magic tricks and decides to teach her best friend Jaden some magic. The two practice magic tricks for hours. Addie feels bad that Jaden is still struggling. What did I just see there? Addie feels bad. Who is feeling it? Addie. Go ahead and underline that right now. Addie feels bad that Jaden is still struggling. Addie suggests they watch themselves in the mirror as they do tricks. Hey, let's invite an audience, Addie proposes. Or not, she quickly adds when she sees her friend's eyes widen in fear. So who are we talking about in this excerpt? We're talking about Addie and we're talking about Jaden. Very good. Whose feelings are shared with us in this excerpt? Addie. But it says they. How come it wouldn't be third person? Well, good, because Addie is in the excerpt. She is a character in the passage. Fabulous. It tells us that Addie feels bad. Good. Now, do we know for sure how Jaden feels? Do we know that he is struggling? Do we know that? It doesn't tell us Jaden is unhappy because he is struggling. So good, it would be limited. All right, let's look at number 2. Let's do this one together as well. The 4 girls were silent. So who is in this? 4 girls, good, circle that. Were they all silent or was just one of them? They all were very good. Crouched down behind the garbage cans, they were afraid to breathe. Who was afraid to breathe? They. Excellent. We know all of them are afraid. Who was that shadowy figure sneaking through the garage? Whose idea had it been to play this spying game anyway? All right, I want you to think for a minute. See if you know what it is. Do I have any volunteers? Oh, a lot of volunteers. Okay. John, what do you think it is? Oh, very good. And why do you think it's third person omniscient? It tells you the 4 girls were silent. It said they. Good. All right. Go ahead and do the next one on your own. I'll walk around the room and check for you. Make sure you underline or highlight those key words. I've walked around. Okay. I went around. Do I have a volunteer to answer number 3? Go ahead and answer. Excellent, excellent choice. Let's randomly choose someone for the next one. That's number 7. Good. Why is that the answer? Good. Why did you underline that? Perfect. Those were your key words that helped you decide. Excellent job. Thumbs up if you understand the difference between first person point of view, third person limited point of view, and third person omniscient. Sideways if you still need a little practice. Okay, that's fine. We have a lot more practice to go. Turn your paper over. Let's go ahead and do activity A. Do I have a volunteer to read the directions? Circle the letter of the answer choice that correctly completes each sentence. So now it's going to look at it a little bit differently. Let's look at one together. If a story includes the pronouns I and myself, it is likely that the story has either A first-person narrator, or B, a third person narrator. Put one finger up if you think it's first person narrator. Put 3 fingers up if you think it's third person narrator. Go. Excellent. You all got that one. Perfect. Jonathan, why did you choose first person narrator? Good, because it has those keywords, I and myself. All right, go ahead and do 2, 3, and 4 on your own. I'll walk around and see if you need any help. Okay, everybody worked. We went over all the answers. I feel comfortable going on to section B. All right, guys, now I'm going to have you work with your partner. It's going to be a little bit different. Read each passage and then answer the questions. So now, not only does it give you a passage, it's going to ask you questions about the passage. Let's look at the questions that it's going to answer before I let you work with your partner. This passage has what kind of narrator? Does the narrator reveal? What does reveal mean? Show, good. Does the narrator reveal Daniel's feelings? Why or why not? And when you're working together with your partner, quiz each other, because when we go over this as a class, I'm going to ask you to tell me what you wrote. Why did or how did the narrator show or reveal the feelings? Go ahead and work on that with your partner. I'm going to give you 5 minutes for each question. I will come around and answer any questions that you may have, but I really want you to try to work on this together and come up with an answer. So before you ask me a question, ask your partner, work together. Go back. I will leave the clues again up on the board because we're just learning this. So I want you to be able to go back and practice what we've learned, review what I have up on the board before you answer your questions. Time goes on, we review, we end the lesson, and this is how we would end the lesson. Okay, so today we learned a lot about point of view. Can anybody share? Well, you know what? I'm not going to let you do that. I'm going to have you write it down. Hold that thought. Let's go back to the target board and let's review the standard that we learned. Explain the influence of multiple narrators and or shifts in points of view in a literary text. Now, we just touched the surface on this because the narrator, we learned you could have somebody that's a narrator that's involved in the story. You could have a narrator that is not involved in the story. You can have a narrator that knows one person's feelings. You could have a narrator that knows everybody's feelings. We could have a passage that causes a shift or a change where the character might change their point of view. Something might happen that causes them to reflect and possibly change. And that is where our influence would come in. Something influenced, something made that character think about something different, and it changed their point of view. And tomorrow, we're going to read a passage about a Chinese American girl. And her parents grew up in China. She did not. She was born here, and she likes a boy. And she has the boy's family over for Christmas dinner. And I'm not going to give you anything else, but we're going to see tomorrow that there is going to be a change in her perception, a change in her point of view, and I'll just leave you hanging on that. So I'd like you to write me an exit ticket. Take out your exit ticket paper and write for me one thing you learned today. Just one thing. You can write a few words. You can write a sentence, whatever you want. I'll collect them as you leave. Have a great day.